Somewhere in the rough Yukon wilderness, long since forgotten by the passage of time, is an abandoned gold mine. Long abandoned property whispers tales of miners who worked for wealth, hoping to strike it rich or come up empty-handed. Most would consider the claim to be too far gone to be worth the effort, yet the ground retains mysteries of the past. With gold prices soaring and fuel costs at a rare, Tony, who never backs down from a challenge, is taking a huge risk by investing in a mine that hasn't produced anything in years. If his intuition is correct, there could be untapped riches hidden beneath the surface. What happened to the mine? And more importantly, what will Tony discover when he starts digging? You won't believe it. Very low, with nothing to lose and everything to gain, Tony decided to turn on the machines and take a chance on what could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a long-abandoned mine that none of the other miners would have even considered. Tony needed more pay dirt quickly because his crew was spread thin and production was falling short. The Hunker cut and Piggy Bank cut had yielded some gold, but not enough to meet his season's targets. I'm curious to see what kinds of values are in this store because I want to take a sample. At that point, his attention changed to the old-timer tailings, a massive mound of rocks and gravel that had been left behind by miners from a different region. It was only half a mile away from Mike's Terrell tummy. Looking down at what appeared to be abandoned tailings, he could see the remnants of an old SLO run. He knew that miners in that area didn't have the same technology as today, so there was a good chance that valuable gold had been left behind. So he brought his son along. Without wasting a moment, Tony proclaimed that this hill was the first in the Klondike to have mechanical mining. The hill is steeped in history. Even the crew's veteran miners were taken aback by this section of the claim, which Kevin had never seen before. Tony must have been sitting on an unrealized gold deposit for years. Tony, as we walked around the site, pointed out an old wooden soul box that had been built 80 years ago and was buried beneath the gravel. He explained that they had run this hill for gold, but that they only cleaned out the box once a year, so if any gold had gotten through the cracks, it could have. There may still be something concealed in those tailings, but with the help of contemporary mining equipment, Tony may retrieve what the pioneers left behind. The question is, what lies beneath that attractive gravel? To find out, we'll drill a few holes and she'll use his. Tony called for an excavator and said, if there's ever a time to check this out, it's today. This was because no one had ever dug up a sample that way before. As the digger continued to delve inside the discarded remnants, there was an obvious air of stress about the crew. With each shovelful of soil came the weight of decades of doubt. Had the old-timers really dug out all the gold, or was this place still loaded with treasure? After meticulously panning the first bucket load, tiny glimmers of gold started to emerge as the dirt swirled away in the water. It was a promising sign, but no one dared to celebrate just yet. Upon closer inspection, something even more shocking was revealed. The sample contained more than just a few specks of gold. There were fine particles of gold everywhere. As they caught the sunlight, they created a golden sheen mixed with the tailings that had lain fallow for several years. Gold was clearly present and ran all through the material, indicating that the ultimer had missed far more than expected. The realization sunk in, and even the voice of reason couldn't deny the excitement. This wasn't just leftover scraps, it was potentially a rich, untapped resource that had been sitting right under Tony's nose for 35 years. A thrilling and excruciating moment unfolded. This area had been ignored for a long time since people didn't care about it. However, now that Tommy had the first concrete evidence of gold, it was evident that he had struck it rich. With visible gold in nearly every pan, the next logical step was to run a full-scale test through the wash plan to determine the actual amount of gold left behind. If you look at the numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, you'll notice that it's all over the place. It's gold, I swear. Tommy's plan was straightforward. run the tailings through the kiwi plant, a high-efficiency wash plant, and see if the gold was enough to justify keeping Monica as loader operator and Desiree, a rookie operator, in charge of keeping the tailings moving and clearing out the fine material. Everything appeared to be going according to plan until an abrupt, the once smooth activities were disrupted within seconds when a metallic crack cut through the air, a sound that no miner ever wants to hear. Descended into anarchy as the plant moaned under the strain. The enormous cell run, the nerve center of their gold recovery system, lurched forward, causing everything to become misaligned. Finally, a snapped cable caused the collapse, which compromised the entire structure by shifting vital components out of place. The crew felt a surge of urgency as the steady flow of material came to a sudden stop, causing dirt and debris to accumulate in all the wrong places. Tony lost up to $2,000 in gold for every 60 minutes the plant wasn't running, and with this site still unproven, this wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a potential disaster. Immediate action was taken by Tony and his colleagues to stabilize the structure in order to prevent additional damage. In order to keep the factory operational, it was necessary to straighten the twisted metal beams, weld on a new support structure, and precisely correct the angle of the solitary run. In a never-ending battle against the clock and tiredness, the crew pieced together the damaged parts by cutting, welding, and reinforcing them. Sparks flew as torches slashed through twisted steel, and the air was heavy with the stench of burning metal. It was an exhilarating and excruciating battle, but they succeeded. Every hour seemed like money was slipping through their fingers as they bent the bar back straight, welded the piece on pretty straight, and reset the angle on the run. Finally, after 8 agonizing hours, the final weld was sealed. Now that everything was back in motion, the real test was about to start. Would the old tailings finally pay off, or had Tony simply wasted an entire day on dirt? The engines roared as the trauma began to spin and the cell started catching dirt again. It was finally time for the moment of truth after 4 hours of mining. Usually, Tony needs at least 1 ounce of gold per 100 yards for a site to be profitable, but with these tailings, he could still make a profit with half that amount. During the weigh-in, the crew patiently awaited the results. One by one, the weights increased. 1. 602.5 ounces, 4.2 ounces, and a final total of 4.22 ounces of gold, valued at $7,400. Tony's intuition had been correct. This indicated that the old tailings were yielding the desired results per 100 yards. Incredibly, the tailings were outperforming their present hill mining operations, which was within their reach. "It's better than what we're doing on the hill," Tony grinned, "so let's go for it and see if we can do even more against the odds. Maybe there's more gold behind all those old tailings," but with the help of today's technology and a strong will, Tommy was able to recover what the old-timers left behind at an abandoned mine. This goes to show that sometimes the best opportunities are right where you least expect them. Tony Beets is only at the beginning of his journey. If you want to see more riches, subscribe now and go on a treasure hunt with him. Enchanted treasures and fabled finds of gold.